Hello everyone, it's Shane Conto, your Wasteland Reviewer. Welcome to the Wasteland, my weekly show where I take a deep dive into a particular film, and we're getting towards the tail end of John Carpenter's career, and with the only sequel that he ever directed, which is Escape from L.A., and here to talk about it is my wife Jess and our cat Murphy, who may or may not be making an appearance on camera.
He's there though.
Thank you for coming on, Jess.
You're welcome.
She specifically chose this one when I brought up John Carpenter, and she got first dibs. So we're going to be talking about Escape from L.A. and all the terrible, terrible CGI in it. But if you haven't tuned in to Welcome to the Wasteland before, there's 3 segments to the show. We have coming attractions, then our feature film, and then some recommendations for you. So we're talking about May the 5th. 2023, and there could only be one film. And Jess, why are you most excited about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3?
It's presumptive. Wow, Shane. It's true though. So, I enjoy the Guardians films. I think they're a lot of fun. Yeah, that's really it. Do I need a deeper reason? It's okay if not. I enjoy them. I'm interested to see how it ends, because, that's the whole shtick, is the beginning of the end. Or no, that's for 10.
Yeah, that's the Fast 10 tagline. This is the end of the Guardians, with James Gunn going over to DC and probably most of the cast as well. So, gotta enjoy this final rocket-centric entry into this trilogy, which is pretty much devoid of any connection to anything else, which honestly at this point I'm kind of happy about. I just want to see their story come to an end. And they're such a great group of characters, and I love Guardians 2 a lot more than most people, so I just can't wait to see more of these characters. They are one of the best parts of Infinity War as well. And, there wasn't else much out this weekend except for a few smaller films. The only other wide release is Love Again, which looks like extremely problematic rom-com that'll just probably skate over all of that anyway.
We love a romantic relationship based on a lie.
On lies. So but getting to our feature film this week is indeed John Carpenter's sequel to his beloved cult classic Escape from New York, and that is Escape from L.A. from 1996. So yes, we're deep in the 90s for John Carpenter. Also has been put down as John Carpenter's Escape from L.A., and this particular film has Deborah Hill coming back, who also co-wrote the film, along with Kurt Russell, who co-wrote it as well. This definitely has been a mixed bag film in terms of reception and everything. And how this all came about was, it was in development apparently for over 10 years. They were trying to get this film up off the ground. And Kurt Russell apparently was super... Kurt Russell wanted to make this movie. He wanted to be Snake Plissken again. So he was a big driving force in the mid-90s to get this made. And it's a mixed bag of things. But Jess, what are your general thoughts on Escape from L.A.?
Definitely should have used CGI a little bit better. I just don't know why they did a lot of what they did. It didn't age well. That's probably my biggest thought, is it just didn't... There's a lot, I mean... This is... None of the side characters
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, third act level bad CGI. When they're like, let's replace the Megazords with CGI instead of man in a suit. But
terrible.
There's so much CGI in this movie and a horrible green screen.
The surfing is just hilarious. Although I did forget about the paragliding.
Paragliding, bad. The submarine scene, bad. Which they extended just to throw in, little nods to, Universal Studios and stuff like that, which is under the sea. Because the whole entire idea of this film is... L.A. is now, a banishment colony. It's no longer part of the United States.
Yeah, it's a prison colony, or exile, right? They send people to exile, they revoke their
Yes, they're no longer American citizens because of culture war, offenses that are against the moral code of the new president of the United States, Cliff Robertson. I'm like, wait a minute.
I couldn't tell if this movie was like pro-fascist government or anti-fascist. I think it was anti.
How do we know? Like, this is very obvious.
I'm an idiot.
It's very obviously like John Carpenter
thought it was anti.
John Carpenter is very anti-establishment and like
the hippie villains or whatever, where it's like, I was like,
what hippie villains? They're it also probably didn't age the best.
Villains, I guess.
They're a bunch of South American and Central American.
I mean, the main guy was obviously Che Guevara.
Yeah,
just,
so like
that picture of him that's on T-shirts and.
Yeah, so like,
just, like
they went very much into like leaning into that, where it's just like, yes, our villains are a bunch of Latin American and South American people. It's just like.
It's the third world countries.
Yes, third world countries
against the U.S.
Which Cliff Robertson's president. I'm shocked this movie wasn't written in 2020.
Yeah.
It's ridiculously timely. And this whole, like, moral code and, like, banishing... Well, like, even, like, cutting L.A. off from the rest of the country. I'm just like...
It's a Sodom and Gomorrah.
Wait a minute. There's so many, like, big... like right-wing talking points that have turned into actuality in this dystopian future of 2013.
It's a theocracy.
2013. Which we're 10 years past at this point, and we haven't quite gotten there yet, but like I think some people would want us to get there.
Great, yeah.
Which I feel like that's one of the most interesting things about this movie is that it's ridiculously timely. And which is very odd, seeing as this movie is 27 years old.
According to people smarter than me that I read about online, they were saying that, the harbingers of that had started by them.
But yeah, so like this film has very timely ideas. It really was trying to show off, ooh, look at all the fun toys that we have now in terms of CGI, they look all horrible. State of the art. And what was tricky is like so much of Escape from New York looks like sets, because they are. Yeah, it looked a little smaller scale than it should have because they couldn't really capture New York with the budget that they had. But like it looked better than this.
Yeah,
so
this
like
was rough.
It's like
it looked like CGI painted backgrounds.
Yeah.
Like how was it both?
Like in the moments where it was practical, like there's a cool looking scene in the LA Coliseum. Kurt Russell as Snake Plissken playing basketball to save his life
that was really funny.
A dumb screenwriting choice.
That was a weird one. I forgot about that too. I've seen this movie before.
And like Escape from New York is not a not weird movie. Escape from New York is a weird movie.
Yeah, but it's not.
And this is the creator of Big Trouble in Little China, which is a weird movie. It's
delightfully weird.
Yeah, there's not a lot of there's moments, but there's not a ton of delight here. And like where you have characters like Cabby and Brain, and you have great character actors like Ernest Borgnine and Harry Dean Stanton. You have Steve Buscemi in this. Yeah,
he's like a formidable villain.
And Isaac Hayes. You have Steve Buscemi here, who at first I just assumed was like this one-off little thing.
There's
but like
so many characters that are.
He did keep coming back in, but like they were just trying to redo Brain, except not as good.
Worse.
Except Steve Buscemi was really trying. But they didn't really give him a whole lot to work with. And then there's this one random woman who I'm like, are they trying to make a love interest for Snake? And then she gets shot within unceremoniously in like 5 minutes. And it's just like, what? And then what should have been the best part of the movie is Bruce Campbell as the Surgeon General of Beverly Hills, who has like this disgusting plastic surgery, except you couldn't plastic surgery that giant ass chin away. Except he's in it for like 90 seconds.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
very big. He kind of just sachets in and then
sachets out. And the villain is a lot less interesting in this. And I just feel like so much of the screenplay was rehashing things from the first one. But I feel like the weirdest thing is having Peter Fonda pop up as Pipeline, a surfer dude who surfs a tsunami with Snake Plissken.
This is the big one, brah.
He's just like, oh yeah, Snake, here it comes, man.
Surf's up, dude.
Surf's up, dude.
He doesn't even hand him a surfboard. He just like places it in front of him, and he's like, "Here's how you surf in 5 seconds." And Kurt Russell's able to surf a tsunami, and then he was keeping up with Steve Buscemi in this horribly CGI car.
And then the whole Pam Grier playing a transgender woman who still has like a very deep, man, like a modulated voice to make her sound like a man.
That whole thing is a disaster.
And I'm just like, ooh.
Transphobic.
That aged very poorly. That aged just as poorly as the CGI did.
He keeps dead naming her.
Yeah. Well, I think that was on purpose because I think they keep trying to reinforce that, like, Snake's not a good person. And should we really be rooting for Snake? Probably not, except he's based... Well, here's the interesting thing, is because Kurt Russell in real life is a very right-wing, authoritarian type person, and I feel like he is Snake, except he's less bad than the villains of the movie, so then you're kind of just like... Okay.
I wasn't really rooting for anybody, to be honest.
Well, that's the tricky thing, too. This film struggled to get us behind anybody except Kurt Russell's fun. And, of course...
I like the guy on the beach. That was my Peter Fonda.
Peter Fonda.
The surfer bra.
Pipeline bra.
He even says, he's like, I'm gonna stay here.
I'm gonna surf this wave, man.
That's all he wanted. I mean, I get that.
I still love how the first thing out of Kurt Russell's mouth is just like, the name Snake.
Right.
Just it really does feel like a rehashing of Escape from New York.
It feels like fan fiction to me.
I guess there's a fine line between that. You're making a sequel when you just rehash so much from the first one, and...
I wrote a lot of bad fan fiction in my day, so I think Shane spared that part of being a teenager on the internet.
I still feel like Village of the Damned is below this.
Yeah, I mean...
Only because it was so inert. There's potential, but it just didn't go anywhere. At least this goes somewhere, and there's fun moments.
Yeah,
and you still have Kurt Russell and Steve Buscemi and Bruce Campbell for 90 seconds. Cliff Robertson was a very convincing, crazed, extremist president. And, I think he played that well. And, he's just...
Yeah, he's in it for, 5 minutes cumulatively.
He got actually surprising more screen time than I anticipated. But, he's literally just Donald Pleasant's character rehashed in a different way. Because that's the whole movie. It's they take,
President need help.
They take everything from the first film and just rehash it in a worse way. And with more CGI, which we don't like. And that's really disappointing because, you could tell in the 90s and, John Carpenter's trying to keep up with the technology, but I feel like what makes so many of his films so great in the late 70s and the 80s is that he stuck with the practical effects, and there's charm to it. There's no charm to, N64 graphics in the
I was thinking it looks
movie.
like the Eiffel 65 music video for Blue. It also looks like Everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, it looks like that. It blew my mind in the 90s. The earlier, what was that? Earlier,
GoldenEye.
Blew my mind.
GoldenEye video game.
Oh, the polygons?
Yes. Yes, this submarine looked like a smoothed out polygon over here. So... Jess, do you have any other thoughts about Escape from LA that you would like to share?
I found it less funny this time. I don't know if it's because the first time I didn't expect it.
I would imagine, I knew about a decent amount of stuff going in. I didn't, it did take me my surprise how ridiculous some of the stuff was. But I feel like on a second watch, I probably won't be. Like, I imagine that's what you're experiencing. Yeah. And... would I watch it again? Yeah. I don't know why. Morbidly. And, like, this 100% feels like a movie you should throw in with your friends over. Yeah. Like, I wish Joe was here. Can you imagine? For those who watch the movie club and also know Joe from my channel, I think Joe would have
enjoyed it. Probably. I think he would have enjoyed it.
Well, we would have enjoyed watching it. I could just imagine sitting with my group of friends and just watching this movie and just being like, this is ridiculous.
I watched it alone the first time and was kind of like, oh, there's nobody to make fun of this with me.
And
in the between times.
Mm-hmm. Well, we watched it together this morning.
That was wild times in my life. I watched The Lobster, this, Vampire's Kiss. It was a mess.
Only one of those is an objectively good movie.
It's Vampire's Kiss. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Just because Nick Cage is hilarious and memeable doesn't
really
mean that
Vampire's
Kiss is a good movie.
Well, I think that my thing with, and this isn't about Vampire's Kiss, that this movie didn't have is Vampire's Kiss was... They were constantly outdoing themselves. Like, that movie is just a climb. Well, because, like... This is just kind of, like... level of...
Black leather-clad Kurt Russell is just being steely and... offensive. Just the whole entire movie. Just being Snake Plissken. And there weren't enough, like, over-the-top... Like, there was no moments like, are you the Duke? The Duke! Of, like, Donald Pleasant just shooting Isaac Hayes like crazy. There weren't moments like that. And that's the, like, there weren't...
the part that got incinerate.
Oh my god, that terrible CGI fire.
It was so bad.
Water and fire. Horrible things to CGI.
It had both.
I couldn't tell the bad CGI water because I was too focused on the bad CGI submarine going through the water.
Well, it's the fact that when it goes in, it's like, bloop. Bloop. It's fun. I had more fun talking about it than I did with the movie.
Yeah.
Unlike Vampire's Kiss, where I had a lot of fun.
Because now I have Vampires, Ghost of Mars, which was supposed to be Escape from Mars.
That's a lot of escapes.
Yeah, but Kurt Russell wasn't on board for it, and they replaced it with Ice Cube, and then shifted it into, like, Ghost of Mars. And then The Ward, starring famously Amber Heard, because Joe won't stop talking about it, and he'll be on that episode. So, that's Escape from L.A. It's absurd. It is something else.
Do you remember Escape from L.A. is the name of Bojack's boat that he buys?
Yes. Oh, Bojack's so much better than this. It's not even a comparison. But Jess, speaking of something considerably better than this.
Cool. A part I forgot I was going to go to.
Your recommendation for this week's episode?
I really want to think of something else out of spite. Because Shane guessed what I was going to say. But I want to recommend you watch Bluey, Nurture Your Inner Child. I can't tell if it's because I work with kids that I like it so much, or it's pretty wholesome, and I enjoy that their parents look tired most of the time. I feel that. I'm not a parent, but...
Also very Australian.
It is very Australian. It was pretty funny when...
I've watched like two whole episodes, 3 episodes, and I really enjoyed them.
It's fun.
They're 50-episode seasons, but they're 9-minute episodes, which is still less time than watching a 10-episode, hour-long series. So,
my mom was
do that math.
My mom was watching it with us, though, and she had a shorter attention span than either of us. She kept asking questions. I'm like, there's a moral, Mom. It's a kid's show.
They're building it up, making children grow that sense of, like, I can do this.
How funny is it to watch kids fail for a while, you know? It's not
you
funny.
do watch videos of kids getting, like, knocked over and all kinds of...
Only if they're not actually hurt, and there's dozens
They
of
weren't...
If they're really hurt, it's not funny. It's just sometimes, you know, kids fall down. I fall down. It's funny when I fall down.
No, it's not.
It, at times, is funny when I fall down. For me.
But Bluey is a fun show. It's over on Disney Plus, so you could go check out that cute little animated series. And I have a couple of recommendations for you, starting with my new film that I wanted to recommend, Sisu. Yes, it's John Wick, except he's Finnish, and it's World War II, and he's killing Nazis. And there's one scene from it blowing up on TikTok because the audience reactions of like the first person he kills, where he just swings a giant knife into the side of the person's head, and the whole audience goes, "Oh!" because it's so shocking. You can audibly hear the gasp of the whole entire audience. It is a crazy thrill ride. Does it get a little bit too crazy in the third act? Yes.
That's the point, I think.
He shouldn't have survived. He didn't have bulletproof suits made for him by top-notch assassin people. But yeah, Sisu is a crazy thrill ride and 100% worth your time. An amazing action movie. Next up is one of my own movies that I rewatched, which is The Fifth Element, which you'll have to wait a little bit, but it'll be coming your way for the 50th episode of Rowan in the Wasteland. So shameless plugs all around with our buddy Adam, who picked The Fifth Element for us to rewatch. Luc Besson creates one of the most unique sci-fi action movies you're going to find. Bruce Willis being Bruce Willis, except a little bit vulnerable. And Mila Jovovich giving the best performance of her career, because she's not being directed by her husband. So
weird alien.
Lilu Dallas multipaths. And also Gary Oldman and Chris Tucker just like attempt to steal the whole entire movie. Ruby Rod!
It is a close competition between the two.
Yep. And the last one, which came off my watch list, which I will be talking about on an episode of the Wasteland Collides on the Scribe podcast with my friend Diana, is Evil Dead, the 2013 one, which I had never watched before this morning because I was too afraid. When I heard that this actress licks a knife and bisects her tongue and just goes,
People
and then
pay good money for that.
Well, she did it, and then she made out with another woman in it, and then she got infected.
Cute.
And then her arm turned into like Demon Hand from like the second Evil Dead movie, and she chopped it off. Whole arm.
Like Dash.
Yep. There's a lot of it's a remake, so like there's a lot of specific remade scenes from the first film, and then a couple of them from like the second film that they sprinkled in. I was just glad this movie wasn't like 30 minutes longer than the original. I'm like, I can't handle this. It's like 90 minutes, which is still 10 minutes longer than the first one, but like, it works. And Jane Levy is amazing, and she's from Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist that I really liked that show before it got canceled. Mm-hmm. She is the initial infected one. It's a different kind of story because it's not just a group of friends going out to a cabin. They're trying to detox her from like
opioids or
probably it was a white powder. Assumed it was cocaine, but it could have been heroin.
Heroin too.
It was probably heroin. I don't feel like you would take somebody out to a cabin in the woods for a cocaine addiction. Seems like it would be more of a heroin thing. But like,
I feel like you probably shouldn't cold turkey heroin either. But I mean, I feel like that's part of the shtick.
Well,
really,
I guess it was going
physician recommended.
I guess it was going okay until one dumbass reads from the Necronomicon, and then shit ensues. But Fede Alvarez, who directed it, who, if I'm not mistaken, did Don't Breathe, really captured the spirit of, like, the camera work and everything from the original Evil Dead. Like, even, like, the quick panning of the camera and then, like, quick edits and stuff like that. And, of course, the camera flying through the air with the deadites coming at you. It does have a lot less humor in it. It's dark. It's a dark ride. And they do change some of the things about the ending, how it plays out. But in general, I don't like it as much as the original Evil Dead, but it still does its job. I'm glad that they injected more humor into Evil Dead Rise, though. That movie was nuts. I even walked by it playing at a different time I went to the movies in a Prime theater. I could hear the whole thing and started having flashbacks. Wasn't fun. But those are my recommendations, and that is a wrap on another episode of Welcome to the Wasteland, which I appreciate my wife Jess for coming on. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Jess will be popping up a lot more when I start my John Ford series, because she will be popping on a lot of these, especially in the month of June when things are a little bit hectic when we're doing some traveling. This Hobbit's going on an adventure. But thank all of you out there for tuning in and always supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.